from those 4 schools I mentioned. So these are all schools coming from ancient India. We're not talking about Japan or China or how they practice Buddhism in Vietnam. These are all schools that grew up in India preceding Buddhism arriving in Tibet.
Un tās 4 galvenās skolas, ko mēs šeit aplūkojam, tās visas nāk no Indijas, un tās ir tās, kas faktiski pastāvēja Indijā pirms budisms aizvirzījās uz Tibetu un visām pārējām valstīm.
So the names of those schools again: Vaibhashika,
Tad vēlreiz visu 4 skolu vārdu: Vaibhashika,
Sautrantika, number 3 Chittamatra,
trešā ir Chittamatra,
and number 4 Madhyamika.
un 4. Madhyamika.
So our correct view, the sort of best view, is coming out of the Madhyamika school, and it's called the Prasangika branch of the Madhyamika school, their view.
Un tas galīgais augstākais, precīzākais skatījums, kad mēs izvēlamies sekot, ir šis Madhyamikas apakšzara Prasangikas virziens.
So I just remember this step-by-step approach, you see. It's very difficult to jump right up to that highest level. If you're the high jumper in the Olympics, you don't start off at your highest level. You always start off at a lower level, and then you get used to the jump, and gradually you try to build up to your world record. You see, so that idea of gradual approach, step-by-step approach is there.
Un te es vēlreiz vēlētos atgādināt, ka jebkurā gadījumā ir nepieciešama šī pakāpeniskā pieeja. Mēs nevaram uzreiz aiziet uz pašu augstāko plauktiņu, un arī olimpiskajās spēlēs atlēti necentīsies uzreiz ar pirmo piegājienu uzstādīt pasaules rekordu, pakāpeniski paaugstina to latiņas augstumu.
So the idea now is to pass on from those 3 that we've been talking about over the weekend, and just have a look at a different school now, a different view, which is this Chittamatra view.
Un tagad tā doma ir tāda, palūkoties uz vēl vienu citu skolu, ko mēs nedēļas nogalē neapskatījām, proti Chittamatra.
So how does that sound? I mean, if you've got any questions you'd like to ask from the weekend, don't hesitate to ask.
Bet, ja jums ir vēl palikuši kādi jautājumi no nedēļas nogales, nekautrējieties tos uzdot.
Anyway, if you think so later on, we're going to please ask questions. It's maybe a bit early now, but anyway, so we're just touring around this here, and instead we're stopping at another place now. So we're leaving those 3 a little bit to one side, although we do some meditation on those. I'm not going to talk about them anymore, unless I'm asked to. So we're going to just sort of stop at another place now and kind of have a look over a different view.
Jebkurā gadījumā jautājumiem būs laiks arī vēlāk, bet tagad mēs aizceļosim prom no šiem nedēļas nogalē aplūkotajiem filosofijas virzieniem un palūkosimies uz nedaudz citu vēl skatījumu.
So we're not being very methodical, we're just trying to pick out some interesting points.
Un tad šī mūsu pieeja varbūt nav pārāk metodiska, bet mēs vēlamies aplūkot interesantākās nianses.
So yesterday and the day before that we were just mainly focused on talking about the selflessness of the person, of me, or of people.
Un iepriekšējās dienas mēs vairāk fokusējamies uz es vai cilvēku patības nesamību.
And the first 2 of the views, number 1, 2 on your sheet, they are really quite just, generally speaking, they are restricted to people only.
Un ja mēs palūkojamies uz pirmajiem 2 no šiem skatījumiem, tad faktiski tie arī aprobežojas ar cilvēku patības nesamību.
The third one, which is of course our view, the view of our own system, the view that's Prasangika Madhyamika, it applies to all phenomena, both persons and those phenomena that are not persons. So that's a much more general view. They see kind of a selflessness or an emptiness in all things.
Bet šis trešais mūsu Madhyamikas Prasangikas virziens ietver sevi gan personu, gan visu fenomenu patības nesamību.
So we can talk about the emptiness of the table, the emptiness of the pen, just as easily as we can talk about the emptiness of the person.
Un te mēs varam runāt gan par pildspalvas vai galva tukšumu, tikpat vienkārši kā par personas tukšumu.
And it's the same emptiness in all cases, it's just the emptiness of inherent existence.
Un tas ir tas pats tukšums visos gadījumos, pašpastāvošas eksistences nesamība.
But the other schools are not quite so, it's not quite so simple.
Bet citās skolās tas nav tik vienkārši.
For instance, really the two lower schools, they just say all you need to do really is to meditate on the selfness as a person. You don't really need to do much more than that at all anyway.
Pirmās zemākās skolas saka, ka mums nav nepieciešams meditēt ne par ko vairāk kā par personas patības nesamību.
So that is the main meditation that you do, the meditation on the selfness of the person. And the subtle one, as I said yesterday, the one that they think is the one that you really need to meditate on, and is your main meditation, is number 2, meditation of the emptiness of the self-sufficient, substantially existent person.
Un tad viņi uzskatā ir jāmeditē par patības cilvēku, pašu patības nesamību, un tas galvenais, uz ko viņi iesaka koncentrēties, ir šī pašpietiekamā substanciāli eksistējošais nesamība.
But there are other schools, like the Chittamatra, who see things slightly differently.
Bet ir citas skolas, kā šajā gadījumā Chittamatra, kas uz lietām raugās citādi.
As they say, like you've got 2 goals, you've got two objectives.
Jo tās saka, ka jums ir 2 mērķi.
The simpler and easier goal is just to go for your own personal liberation.
Vienkāršākais ir sasniegt pašu savu personīgo atbrīvošanos.
Liberation from being bad, from being born again in samsara. So free of all suffering, free of any kind of, those delusions or disturbing emotions on your mind which keep propelling you into unskillful action after the round of rebirth.
Atbrīvošanos no pārdzimšanas samsārā un atbrīvošanos no tām traucējošām emocijām, kas liek mums veikt neprasmīgas darbības un tālien patur samsārā.
So for that you need the meditation on, the selfness as a person, number 2, as I just said.
Un priekš tā ir nepieciešama meditācija numur 2 par personas patības nesamību.
But the second objective, the higher objective for the really kind of bolder types, the heroes and heroines, they're going for Buddhahood.
Bet augstākais mērķis ir došanās uz Buddhas stāvokļa sasniegšanu.
See, they don't want to just go to their own personal peace, they don't want to go to their own solitary peace, whether they're okay, but leaving everybody else behind. They don't want to do that.
Un šo skolu sekotāji nevēlas sasniegt tikai personīgu apmierinātības stāvokli un aizmirst par visiem pārējiem. Viņi vēlas šādam augstākam stāvoklim aizvest arī visus pārējos.
So they say, what's the use of me being free from suffering when everybody else is still, bound up in suffering and kind of, still in the same hopeless case?
Un tad viņi saka, kāda jēga no tā, ja es būšu brīvs no samsāras, ja tāpat laikā visi pārējie piedzīvos ciešanas šajā samsārā.
So they want the higher level achievement of Buddhahood, the greater potential, so that they're not just sort of free of their own suffering, but they're completely omniscient, they have complete power or complete potential, full compassion, complete wisdom, and the energy to work for the benefit of masses of beings, not cut off from suffering, but engaging with helping people.
Un tad viņa mērķis ir sasniegt pilnīgu savu spēju, perfekciju, pilnīgu zināšanu, pilnīgu skaidru redzēšanu, tā lai viņi nevis tikai būtu paši tikuši vaļā no savām ciešanām, bet lai varētu palīdzēt visām jūtošām problēmām.
So you haven't just got rid of the level of mental obstruction that prevents you from getting to individual liberation. they kind of get rid of all kind of obstructions, all kind of mental kind of false appearances, all karmic sort of contaminated karmic seeds, everything, you know, that their mind becomes completely purified and all seeing.
Un tad viņi atbrīvojas ne tikai no tiem piesārņojumiem, kas tiek atzīt, viņi atbrīvojas arī no visiem pārējiem piesārņojumiem, traucēkļiem, kas traucē pilnīgi skaidri visu redzēt, zināt, uztvert.
So that's a much higher objective. Your mind has got to evolve to an even higher state of purity.
Un tas ir daudz augstāks mērķis, jo prātam ir jātiek vēl līdz augstākām perfekcijas.
How do you do that? Sorry.
Kā mēs varam to sasniegt?
First of all, you need lots more compassion. You know, the bodhicitta meditation. You need to build up a greater sort of wave of merit, and meditating on compassion and acting, you know, through many lifetimes to work the welfare of other beings.
Ir nepieciešams daudz augstāks līdzjūtības līmenis un ir jāizveido tāds tā kā enerģijas vai saišu tīkls, lai varētu šo līdzjūtību lietā un palīdzēt ar to.
And then you also need a kind of a more subtle object of meditation, a kind of a deeper realization, a deeper wisdom realization.
Un tad ir nepieciešams arī daudz smalkāks meditācijas gudrības objekts, daudz dziļāka gudrības izpratne.
So you meditate on the one we talked about yesterday, the absence of the self-sufficient, substantially existent person. Yes, you do that, but on top of that you have another kind of deeper level realization to meditate on.
Un tad, protams, tiek meditēts arī par šī pašpietiekamā substanciālā esošā es neesamību, bet tam vēl pa virs tiek meditēts arī vēl par smalkāku patības neesamības veidu.
And what is that? They meditate on, they say, the Chittamatra school, they say you've got to meditate on the non-existence of subjects and objects as different entities.
Un šī Chittamatra skola saka, ka ir jāmeditē par subjekta un objekta kā dažādu vienību un eksistenci.
Okay. Which is the same meaning as meditating on the non-existence of externally established or externally existent objects.
Kas nozīmē to pašu, kā meditēšana par ārēji pastāvošu objektu un eksistēšanu.
So those two are not different ones, they're just two expressions, two ways of saying the same thing, really.
Faktiski šie pirmie divi izsaka vienu un to pašu.
So mind only, hence the name mind only.
Un tā arī nāk šīs skolas vārds tikai prāts.
So now, when we say mind only, we're not saying that all phenomena are mind.
Tad, kad mēs sakam tikai prāts, mēs ar to nedomājam, ka visi fenomeni ir prāts.
So they're not saying they're not quite saying that there's only mind in the universe.
Tas, ko viņi saka, nav tas, ka prātā pastāv, un visumā pastāv tikai prāts.
So let's take something like blue, yeah, the color blue. So
Paņemsim par piemēru zilo krāsu.
we're not saying that blue is mind.
Mēs nesakam, ka zils ir prāts.
No, we're still keeping blue, and then let's say the mind realizing blue, which we say, you know, eye consciousness seeing blue. So they're not the same thing.
Un tad zilā krāsa un prāts, kas uztver šo zilo krāsu vai konkrētā acu apziņa, tā nav viena tā pati lieta.
Okay, but it's like in a dream.
Bet tas ir kā sapnis.
So that, you know, just as in a dream, you have a mind, or so you could have an eye consciousness. Well, you could think that you're seeing blue in a dream, couldn't you?
Tad mēs sapnī varam domāt, ka mēs redzam zilu krāsu.
So what appears when you think you're seeing blue? In your dream you're seeing blue.
Tas, kas mums parādās, ka mēs sapnī redzam zilu krāsu, ir zila krāsa.
So what appears to that mind in the dream?
Un tad, kas parādās šim prātam sapnī?
So blue kind of appears to it, doesn't it? In some way.
Kaut kas zils, kaut kādā veidā tur parādās.
You can have a consciousness seeing blue in a dream, can't you?
Mēs nevaram ar acu uztveri sapnī redzēt zilu krāsu.
Yeah. So what's the difference? You know, like in ordinary waking life, we'll have an appearance of blue to our minds.
Tas, kas palīdzēs ilustrēt atšķirību, kad nomodas stāvoklī mūsu acu apziņa uztver zilu krāsu.
And we'll say that, behind the appearance or backing up the appearance of blue to the mind is some actual blue out there in the external world.
Un mēs teiksim, ka tas pamats tam, lai acu apziņa varētu uztvert zilu krāsu, ir kaut kas konkrēts, lielisks tur ārējā pasaulē, kas rada šo zilu krāsu.
But in this school, they're saying that appearance of blue in waking life to be, externally existent or externally established, that's a false appearance.
Bet šī tikai prāta skola teiks, ka tas, ka mums nomoda laikā parādās, ka tur ir kaut kāds reāls eksistējošs pamats tur ārā, uz kā pamata parādās zilā krāsa, kad tas ir neeksistējoši.
Yeah, you get the idea? So, no external world.
Tātad viņu uztverē nav ārējas pasaules.
No external forms.
Nav ārēja forma.
No external blue.
Nav ārējas zilas krāsas.
So you still see blue. It's like we're seeing blue, we're seeing black, we're seeing wood, we're seeing carpet. So those exist.
Mēs joprojām redzam zilu, melnu, redzam paklāju, koku grīdu. Tas viss pastāv.
But they don't externally exist.
Bet tas nepastāv ārēji.
Just like, blue or wood or carpet seen in a dream.
Līdzīgi tāpat kā, ja mēs to visu redzētu sapnī.
But they say other beings exist, yeah. So it's not like you're the only being in the world. All the other sentient beings exist, and they have somehow kind of, they're not all in your mind. So other minds exist. So other minds kind of are also, they're also, hopefully trying to get to the world or going around in samsara like we are. So we're not the only being in the world.
Bet šī skola saka, mēs neesam vienīgā būtne visā visumā, kas visu uztver, un šī skola saka, ka pastāv arī citas būtnes, citi prāti, kas arī uztver vēlas sasniegt tapismību.
So it's just the matter, it's just the form, the things, the physical things that are not externally existent.
Un tāda neeksistē tikai matērija, ārējās fiziskās formas.
So nothing exists outside a mind.
Nekas neeksistē ārpus prāta.
So how does that sound? Why on earth would you want to think like that?
Un kā izklausās šāds skatījums, kāpēc mēs nevēlētos uztvert lietas tādā veidā?
So, by the way, our school, so the school that we think is the highest school, this is the Prasangika school, they accept external reality, they accept external objects. They're not like the mind-only school.
Un cits starpā jāmin, ka šī Madhyamikas Prasangikas skola, kurai mēs sakojam, tā atšķirībā no Čitmatras skolas, uzskata, ka ārēji fenomeni eksistē.
Remember, our school is saying everything's merely imputed, right?
Mūsu skola saka, ka viss pastāv tikai apzīmētā veidā.
Remember that? Nothing exists from the side of the object.
Nekas neeksistē no objekta puses.
Or from the, so, but still they say, if you deny the external world, then you're making a mistake. That's not correct.
Un tādējādi tiek teikts, ja jūs tomēr noliedzat ārēju fenomenu pastāvēšanu, tad tas ir nepareiz pieeja.
So the mind-only school, this is like a unique tenet, a unique feature of their school.
Un tādējādi tā ir atsevišķa īpatnība, kas piemīt šai tikai prāta skolai.
Although in Western philosophy there is a similar, some philosophers who've tried to say the same thing.
Kaut gan jāsaka, ka arī rietumu filosofijās ir atrodamas tādas, kas ir mēģinājušas pasauli prezentēt līdzīgā veidā.
It's interesting that in Western philosophy also there should one group of people, or some philosophers would take the same turn and try to say everything is just mind only.
Interesanti, kad arī rietumu filosofu vidū ir bijis šāds pagrieziens, kad visu varētu interpretēt kā tikai prāta radītu un uztvertu un pastāvošu.
Anybody studied philosophy, Western philosophy here?
Vai no šejienes klātesošiem ir kāds studējis filosofiju?
So,
Platons.
pardon? Plato?
No, nē, taču.
Yes, and Plato, maybe his view may be somewhat similar to this view. And a person I think who's closest, from what they say, is an 18th century British philosopher called Bishop Berkeley.
Oh, okay.
Well, Irish, well, he's British by family, but he lived in Ireland, Bishop in Ireland.
Un šķiet, ka no rietumu filosofiem vistuvākais šim skatījumam ir bijis 18. gadsimtā dzīvojušais brīts, kas dzīvoja Īrijā, Berkeley,
yeah.
Yeah, Berkeley.
So he was a bishop, you know, a bishop in the Protestant church, you know, but still he had this very odd view.
Viņš bija mācītājs protestantu baznīcā, bet viņam tik un tā bija līdzīgs uzskats.
Yeah, so you know, like the scientists these days, they're trying to say everything, you know, they're trying to explain everything just in terms of matter, you know. There's only one substance in the world, there's matter, and we can explain everything just on the basis of, you know, interactions of matter.
Zinātnieki mūsdienās cenšas pieturēties pie skatījuma, ka viss, kas pastāv, ir tikai matērija un visu var izskaidrot, pētot matēriju.
But the mind-only school sees great problems with matter, you see. So if you try to do that, then you know, you're going to get yourselves into difficulties. It's much better to try and explain everything in terms of just pure mind. You know, everything is just appearances, either mind or just appearances to mind.
Savukārt tikai prāta skola saskatā šādā materiālistiskā pieeja problēmas un uzskata, ka daudz produktīvāka, labāka pieeja ir izskaidrot visu kā prāta produktu.
So how does that sound there? Have you ever thought like that to yourself?
Vai jums kādreiz pašiem varbūt ir līdzīgi šķitis?
Yes. Good, yeah, to show a bit of imagination here. We just have to experiment with these views, you see. So, yes, there's a world there, there's a path to Buddhahood, there's the truth of suffering, and the cause of suffering. So all Buddhist presentation, and samsara, nirvana, it's still there, but it's just the world that you're operating in. You know, it's not externally established. That's kind of just a false appearance, which you can refute by reasoning. You have to refute it.
Tas ir labi, te var izmantot eksperimentēšanu vienkārši, lai pārbaudītu dažādus skatījumus, kas var darboties, un šajā gadījumā, piemēram, joprojām pastāv mācības, ceļš uz gaismību un tā tālāk, bet nepastāv ārējā pasaule, un tad dažādu loģisku secinājumu rezultātā var nonākt pie konkrētiem noraidāmiem punktiem.
Yeah, so what's the point of doing that? Well, if everything is just an appearance to our minds, there's no externally established reality, then if we really believe that, if we really understood that, then wouldn't we be much less liable to get angry and attached to these things as if they were somehow real things that we could sort of cling on to or fight with?
Un kas šeit ir galvenais un būtiskākais šajā aspektā un domāšanas veidā, ja mēs uzskatām, ka nav nekāda reāli eksistējoša pasaule, vai tas nepadarītu mūs daudz vieglākus vai netik ļoti pārdzīvojuši attiecībā par dažādām problēmām. Ja reiz nepastāv ārēja pasaule, tad nav vērts tik ļoti visam pieķerties, par visu pārdzīvot un tā tālāk.
All these things are just appearances to my mind, you know, driven by or produced from karmic seeds ripening within my mind.
Jo tas viss tikai parādās manā prātā, manu karmisko sēklu nobriešanu dēļ.
So it's all down to my karma in an even stronger way than in the other schools.
Un te tādējādi karma izpaužas daudz spēcīgākā veidā, ja spēlē daudz lielāku nozīmi nekā citās skolās.
So I'm not saying the other person is a product of my karma, like you know, as I said, we're not denying other people, other beings are there, but the way they appear to a mind as being threatening or angry or, you know, hurtful or, you know, highly desirable is just like that's an appearance that's just cast upon them. You know, any physical appearance they have like that, it's just cast upon them by, you know, by our own mind, sort of, you know, producing appearances according to its karmic predispositions.
Un tad te netiek teikts, ka citas būtnes arī ir mūsu prāta produkts. Tādā ziņā citas būtnes pastāv, bet tas veids, kā viņas mums parādās, šo veidu nosaka mūsu karma, vai viņas mums parādās kā patīkamas, nepatīkamas, draudīgas un tā tālāk.
So how does that sound there?
Kā tas skan?
Do you find that a sort of a suitable view, Daiga? That the world could really be like that?
Kā tev Daiga šķiet, tā varētu pastāvēt pasaules potu?
Kāpēc kā ne?
Why not?
Jo daudz kas nav vienkārši izskaidrots vēl. Jo tās ir tās divas lietas, kur ir materiālisms ar ideālismu saskarās.
She says that that's the point where the materialism and idealism kind of meet.
Yeah, sometimes we could call this idealism, yeah. Materialism, definitely. So, you know, we've had so much materialist propaganda, it seems a very unlikely view to us, but really, you know, maybe that's a much more sensible way of looking at it.
Un varbūt mums bijis tās materiālistu propagandas tik daudz, kad tas jau mums šķiet nepārliecinoši, un tāpēc daudz labāks ir kāds cits skaidrojums.
Mums Berklī nepieminēja filozofijā. Mums Berklī nemācīja.
She said that her teachers, philosophy teachers, didn't mention Berkeley.
Oh, what a pity.
Sheldon.
Yeah, so you can see that this is the general trend of Buddhist philosophy, never mind in Mind-Only School, or even, you know, Indian philosophy actually, that like somehow in the end the mind is primary in the universe.
Bet mēs varam redzēt, ka faktiski pārsvarā budistu skolās un arī Indijas nebudistu skolās prātam ir lielāka nozīme.
Or at least, you know, the mind and matter are kind of equally balanced somehow, you know, one depends upon the other.
Vai vismaz prāts un matērija ir līdzvērtīgi un viens iespēja otru.
Yeah, so materialism is all very well, but it's maybe not the really skillful way of understanding the way things are.
Un tad materiālismam ir savu lomu, bet tas nav pats prasmīgākais veids, kā paskaidrot, kā viss pastāv.
But in the end, maybe to try and load everything onto the mind side is also, you know, actually not the most sort of skillful view to hold.
Bet no otras puses arī skaidrot visu tikai ar prātu arī nav varbūt pats prasmīgākais veids.
Of course, when you read the Prasangika text, they spend a lot of time, you know, refuting this.
Ja mēs lasām Prasangikas tekstus, tad viņi vēl daudz laika, lai noraidītu šo skatījumu.
You know, it's like subject depends on object depends upon subject.
Tas ir tā, ka subjekts ir atkarīgs no objekta, un objekts ir atkarīgs no subjekta.
You can't say that one is actually more fundamental than the other in the end.
Nevar teikt, ka galu beigās viens būtu svarīgāks par otru.
At least in the sutra teachings.
Vismaz sutras mācībās.
Tantra might be a little bit